はい、皆さん、今日はですね、こちら、シューインドアというね、ペンシルベニアの、キングオブプレッシャーというところにありますね、インドアのシューティングレンジにやってきました。今、こちらにマットさんがいらっしゃいますけども、Thank you, Matt. So we're gonna shoot, well, we're gonna go through what's expected when someone comes over, let's say from Japan, right?
Sure, yeah.
For the first time coming to the shooting range, what's expected, what needs to be done, right? And a couple regulations that we're gonna have to go through.
Absolutely.
So let's just go in and then let's go through it.
All right, welcome to Shooting Doors. Come on in.
Okay, Matt. So first time visiting here. What do I need to do? What do I need to fill out?
Sure. Some of the important things to recognize when you're coming to the range for the first time is that each state might have different regulations. Here in Pennsylvania, only things I'm going to need from you are a government-issued ID, which can be a foreign government, as long as it has your name and a photo, and then you'll have to complete one of our waivers for the range.
Okay, so that means passport would be one of the ID that's required.
Passport will absolutely work.
Okay.
On our waiver, which is located online, which most ranges have an online waiver,
Okay.
you're able to put into your passport number. For us, there's a little link that we usually give you. You watch a little video and you fill out some paperwork on your phone. If you ever have any questions or anything about that, just come up to one of the staff members and ask for clarification, and they can walk you through what it's asking.
Okay, so even prior to for this range particularly, right? So even before coming to this range, you can just go to the website and watch the video prior to the visit.
Absolutely, and you can fill out all the paperwork prior for this particular range, and we'll send your information to us. So that when you walk in, it saves about 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
これはね、アメリカのレンジの中でも、いろんなルールがありまして、もうこのシューティング道路はものすごくウェブサイトがしっかりしてるから、そういうふうにもうウェブサイトに行って直接ね、この動画を安全の動画を見てですね、でそしてこちらに来て実際に打つことができるということですね。Alright, so let's assume that I already watched the video, right? So what's the next step?
The next step would be just to approach one of the staff members and let them know that you're here to use the range today.
Okay.
Most of the time, individuals coming from another country will be utilizing some type of guided experience or some type of package. So you would talk with the staff members about getting that arranged and set up. Here at Shooting Doors, we always prefer that it's done in advance, and you can book that right on our website.
Okay, alright, so, right, I mean, let's assume that I'm coming from Japan, right?
Sure.
I don't have ear pro, I don't have eye protection.
Absolutely.
I have nothing.
Sure.
What do I do?
So the main important things is just bring that the government-issued ID and a willingness to learn and experience new things.
Yeah.
And we provide everything else for you. So most of our packages, especially the ones developed for people visiting us from other countries, will include safety equipment, will include ear protection, eye protection, targets, and everything you might need in order to have a good and safe experience on the range.
And obviously, you don't have to have a gun, right? You can just come here and rent.
Yeah, so the expectation with our packages, especially if you're coming from a foreign nation, is that you don't have a firearm with you, because that's extremely difficult to do. And so we will provide that in our packages, depending on what that package is and what you're doing that day.
Right. And for those who live within the United States and owns the gun, you can bring those guns with you to this range.
Absolutely. Each state has different regulations, but here in Pennsylvania, you can absolutely bring your firearm to the range. You want to make sure that you follow whatever that range's protocol is for bringing firearms in.
Right.
Each range is going to be different. The main things is the firearm should be unloaded, the firearm should be contained in some type of device such as a holster or a bag, and never in your hand.
Gotcha. So, what about people who conceal carry? Right, so I'm currently not concealed carrying.
Sure.
Right, but if someone is concealed carrying, come to this range.
Sure.
What do I need to do?
At this particular range, we just require you to keep the firearm in the holster the whole time you're in here. Our rules are more based on real life safety scenarios than some type of bureaucratic procedure. Many other ranges don't want you to carry the firearm inside the range, and they want you to have it inside of a package, and they want you to download the ammunition. We don't want you doing that, because the more you handle your firearm, the greater risk there is to everyone around it.
Absolutely. はい、では今からね、実際にこちらに銃がいっぱい並んでますけども、どういうふうな銃を実際に借りることができるのかというのをね、ちょっとマットさんに説明してもらいます。Alright, so Matt, what kind of guns can people expect to rent it?
Sure. Every range is going to have a different array of firearms to rent. Here at Shooting Doors, we have such a large amount that we don't keep all of them on display. Okay. We just keep a smattering. The expectation should be in any standard range, you're going to see semi-automatic firearms. That's firearms that discharge one bullet from one press of the trigger. Most ranges don't particularly have a full automatic, means I press the trigger and multiple bullets come out. Our range here, we don't utilize any fully automatic weapons, so all of them will be semi-automatic. Okay. But you could see things from handguns that ones might use for concealed carry, to long guns that might be used for self-protection, to guns that might be used for hunting, so such as shotguns. And then, of course, we have good guns for the Instagram. So if you're having just fun and want those good vacation photos, we have things like gold-covered Desert Eagles, which are more just fun guns than anything else.
100%. And Chris Vector, right? That's super popular gun in Japan.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Chris Vector, it's a really popular gun here too. It's mostly a popular gun because it's like in every sci-fi movie that there is or television show. Yeah. And it uses Glock magazines, which is the big thing. We have it here in 9mm, so you can sit there and dump a whole 30-round magazine if you like to.
And of course, AR-15, right?
Yeah, so we have multiple different types of AR-15s. This is a Smith & Wesson, but we have things like Daniel Defenses. We have them with optics or without. We have them with suppressors or without.
Okay.
So here at this range, since we are in Pennsylvania, we do have suppressors. So you are able to use those during your packages, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And this is AK-47. I see this is the pistol brace.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the pistol brace model because this is the shortened one. We do have the ability to file paperwork for what's called an SBR, a short barreled rifle. We choose not to because realistically, when our customers come in, this is a firearm that's more set up to how they're actually going to be dealing with it. They're going to have one that's a pistol brace. Right. And so we'd like them to train on what they actually would have. So that's why we have one set up in a pistol brace model. We have lots of other firearms, and I can show you that later if you'd like.
Yeah, let's look at it later. Alright, awesome. まあね、いろんな銃があるわけですけども、まあこういう風なガンレンジに来てですね、まあ自分の好きな銃を選ぶことは可能です。Alright, thanks, man.
So safety is the priority when you come to a range, and a range like ours actually provides you with all the safety equipment you might need. Some of the standard equipment that we provide are ear plugs, so they're foam plugs that you place inside of your ears. Firearms are loud, and shooting them indoors is particularly loud. So you want to make sure that you use a device that blocks all the sound waves out from your ears. We provide these little disposable ones for use on the range. You can buy upgraded, reusable ones if you plan on coming more often. Another option that a lot of folks try to use or would like to use are over-the-ear muffs. We don't provide them in the package, but they are purchasable for about $25, and they make a nice, good souvenir because most of them will have the name of the range on the side of it, which is pretty cool. Over-the-ear hearing protection actually does not work as well as the foam plugs, but they're a lot easier to figure out how to use, so I see a lot of people using them. We also have fancy Walker ear protection, which allows you to actually amplify people's voices. So while you're out there and you're talking with people, you can actually hear people speaking. This is particularly great if English isn't your first language, and so you want to be able to really hear what people are saying, because this amplifies words while still reducing sound from gunshots, which is pretty awesome. And then we have other products such as eye protection for over glasses or just eye protection standard. The options are really yours, and you can purchase those and add them onto your package. Most packages at most ranges just include the very basic safety equipment that you might need.
Okay, Matt. So when you come to the range, right, you're gonna have to purchase the targets, right?
So with targets, if you're purchasing a package, like a package you might purchase when you're on vacation and doing it for tourism, they're going to often include targets. Our packages here include a couple targets per person. So it really has all the targets you might need. You actually get to pick them though. So like we have basic targets here for just target practice, and these are really good. We like smaller targets because the smaller the target, the more accurate your shots are. And then we have larger, more self-defense style targets, like this silhouette target here, which is good practice if you're thinking about self-defense at some point.
Yeah, I think our friends over in Canada, I don't think they let you shoot a men's shaped target.
Yeah, so I saw a really great target for Canadians, which was just a leg. And apparently that's the only place that you can shoot people. Me personally, if someone is threatening my family or my loved ones, they're going to get a large amount of rounds here and probably here. But that's just me, and I live in the United States, so.
はい、今ね、こちらトレーニングクラスの方に入ってきましたけども、クラスルームね。で、今からですね、日本人が、例えば外国人がここに来ましたと。ね、で、レンジオフィサー、レンジにはレンジオフィサーってのがいるわけです。で、そこで、銃を撃つわけですけども、そのコマンドっていうのをね、レンジオフィサーが時々言います。それをね、しっかり理解しておかないといけないんで、マットさんに今から、どういうふうなコマンドをね、しっかり知っとかないといけないのかっていうのをちょっと聞いていきます。Alright, Matt. So,there's always a range officer
Absolutely,
in
yep.
shooting range,
Yep.
right? And there are a couple commands that you need to know in order to be safe
Absolutely,
shooting
yep.
in shooting range.
Absolutely.
So I was wondering whether you could just go over a couple of them.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great point. So the range safety officer, or you might hear it shortened to RSO, their job is to maintain safety in the range, and they have absolute control of the range at all times. That means any directive they may give has to be followed when they say it in the way that they say it. Some common commands that you might hear from RSO, we can start with the most important one, and that's the word cease fire. And so when a ceasefire is ordered, it'll actually be ordered loudly and repetitively. So it'll be ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. If you hear it, it is a general rule that any other customer that hears it must repeat those same commands. The purpose of the ceasefire is that you stop shooting and you take no further action. That includes unloading the firearm. A lot of folks think that a ceasefire means make your firearm safe and unload it. It does not. It actually means stop and wait for further commands.
Right. So let's say you're just in the middle of shooting. There's a warning in chamber, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You just have to place that gun on the table and then stop shooting.
So
Is that
actually,
right?
the best way to follow a ceasefire command is actually to take your finger off the trigger, keeping the firearm pointed in a safe direction, and to just wait for further command.
Okay.
Yep.
So you don't have to actually place it on the table.
No.
You just have to put your finger away from the trigger
Absolutely.
and then just hold it in place.
Yep. And the reason for that is there may be a situation where there's an object that's low down in front, and that's why we're calling a ceasefire. So the process of bringing it down to the table may point the firearm at it. That brings us to our next really important word to understand on the range, which is flagging.
Okay.
So flagging is the idea that the muzzle of the firearm, or where the bullets come out of, should never point or flag things that are things we care about, such as our hands,
Right.
our loved ones,
Yeah.
or the material in the range other than the target.
So actually, I see a training gun over there.
Absolutely.
はい、今ね、こちらにね、トレーニング用の銃がありますけども、サバゲとかでもね、よくセーフティーのエリアでフラグっていうね、言葉がありますけども、銃口を他の人に向ける。これをよく見ます。実銃では絶対やってはいけないことなんですけども、今からこのね、このトレーニング銃を使ってどういうことを言っているのか、ちょっと説明したいと思いますけども、今、マットさんがこちらに立っていますね。で、こういうふうに銃をレンジで撃ってました。ね、こういうふうに持ってきて、このね、銃口をマットさんに向けることをフラグと言います。で、セーフティーサークルという言葉をね、一つ説明したいと思いますけども、この銃口をね、下に向けてこうターンするときに、これはね、今マットさんに対してフラグはしてない状況ですね。安全な方向、ね、もちろん自分のこの足元っていうのはね、気をつけないといけないんですけども、それ以外、これはね、セーフティーサークルって言って安全な方向です。例えばね、じゃあこのフラグ以外にも、例えばこういう風に打ってて、メガネをね、So let's assume that I'm wearing glasses, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm shooting like this,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden because I need to adjust it,
Absolutely.
I go like this.
Yeah,
This is a
absolutely.
no-no, right?
Yeah, that's a big no-no.
All right.
Absolutely a big no-no. So if we pretend that Mr. Bob here is our target, we want to make sure that our firearm stays pointed at the target at all times. The key phrase in that is at all times. So there is no exception or exemption from when that barrel needs to stay pointed at him. So if I'm shooting the firearm and a piece of brass lands into my glasses, or it lands into places that some women don't like when they're shooting on the range, we need to make sure that we keep our finger off the trigger and we keep the barrel pointed downrange while we manipulate whatever it is we need to manipulate. One of the biggest things I see, and that's a big mistake for folks, is when they want to see something on the side of the gun. I often see them turn the gun like this to see it. That's a big no-no. What you actually want to do is just rotate the gun, and remember that your head can move around the firearm. The firearm must stay pointed downrange at all times.
Yeah. So you brought up a good point. Like, for example, like ladies during the summer, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they tend to wear like something more revealing.
Yes.
Right. So when you come to the range, you should probably wear something that you don't have to worry about those kind of
Absolutely.
things. Right?
So some things we want to keep in mind when we're out of range is discharging a semi-automatic firearm will cause a hot shell to come out of the firearm, and it will go probably someplace you don't want it to go. So what we often tell ladies is either A, wear a shirt that's a little higher of a cut, or flip the shirt around temporarily while they're shooting. It doesn't look so great on the Instagram photos, but it makes it a lot safer for when you're shooting on the range.
Okay, great information, right? So, when foreigners come or tourists comes to this kind of place,
Sure.
they obviously want to take pictures,
Absolutely.
right? For the photograms, right?
Sure, yeah.
Let's say this person is taking a selfie using a gun like this.
Yeah.
That's a huge no-no too.
Absolutely. So a lot of ranges actually prohibit photograph or video use. We here at Shooter Doors are the opposite of that. Since we have such a high requirement for safety, we don't mind that people are taking photos as long as they're doing so in a safe manner. And in fact, we like when you take videos and photos at our range. So one of the big things you want to make sure you do is if you want to take a selfie with a firearm, is you don't actually take the selfie. You have somebody else take the photo. So if I'm shooting, I'll have someone else, hey, can you take a photo of me? Take a photo of me while I'm shooting. I want to make sure at no time will the muzzle of the firearm point in any direction that's unsafe. One of the big things I still hear as a mistake, even from longtime gun owners in the United States, is they'll say, but my gun was unloaded. No firearm should ever be treated as it's unloaded at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the golden rule. 銃というものはですね、どんなに、もう絶対弾が中に入ってないと知ってても、ね、分かっていても常に銃が、装填されているという考え方で、これを扱うとかね、非常に大切です。Alright, thanks, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
今からね、マットさんが、サイトの見方をね、紹介してくれます。Alright, Matt. So let's go through how we are looking through the iron sights.
Sure. So something that's important for basic firearm safety is to understand how the sighting system works. Sights on the firearm are the way that we take a firearm and point it in a direction and make sure the bullets end up in the direction that we want it to do. So in this particular setup, we have what's called iron sights or open sights. In other words, these are non-electric sighting systems that are located on top of the firearm. Here I have these little cheating cards that are the front sight and the rear sight for a Glock pistol. It doesn't matter which model, they're all pretty much exactly the same. So what I'm showing you here right now is how you want your sights to actually line up. So if you line these sights up with each other, just like this when you're shooting, your bullet will go where you intend. If you allow your front sight to be tall in reference to your rear, or you allow your front sight to be too far to one direction or another, or too low, your shots will not go where your firearm is aimed. If I put it like this, the shots will go too high. If I put it like this, the shots will go too low, and left and right. And so we want to make sure those sights align perfectly up. It's counterintuitive because a lot of people think, hey, let me look at the target while I'm shooting. The best idea is actually for new shooters to stare at their front sight and make sure their eyes are focused on their front sight even through the shots. Then if we want to take our sights and we want to align them with the target, I'll show you what that looks like now. For most firearms, this will be the alignment to the target. So if I aim the front sight over the X, for most firearms, if this is lined up and my trigger press is good, we'll end up with a bullet hole in the center of the target. Please note that some firearms require what's called a 6 o'clock hold or combat hold, which means I actually hold below where I want to hit. That allows me to see my target. So if it's a military style firearm, that allows me to see if the target is moving while I'm engaging it. Some famous firearms will do that, or some SIG firearms actually do that. So that's something that we should know. If we're using a rifle instead, the sighting systems are a little different. This is an example of an M4 front sight. This is the example of an M4 rear circle or ghost sight. So the way that we'd want these lined up is just like that. Dead center, perfect, lined up like this. And then if we want to put it to the target, same deal. Some guns it's going to be dead center, some guns it's going to be lower than. But as long as those are lined up, we should be fine. Again, if you put it too low or too high, your shots will be off. It is very important that you stay focused on your sighting system and you make sure your sights are aligned anytime that you're discharging a firearm of any type.
では今からね、実際にレンジに入って撃っていきますけども、Alright, man. So we're gonna actually go into the shooting range.
Absolutely.
Right? What do we have on our head right now?
So the first thing we want to do before we even ever approach the door to the range is we want to check to make sure we have eye protection and ear protection. I usually tell people to physically check it because it's often that people will do this, and this counts for nothing. It needs to be actually over your eyes in order to give yourself protection.
Right. So you and I have two different kinds of ear probe. Right?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
have something that goes into your ear.
Yeah.
I have something that goes over my ear.
Absolutely, yeah. So these are like the plugs I talked about earlier. Generally, plugs will give you a better sound reduction than muffs will, but muffs are easier to use. You can throw them on in 2 seconds, whereas plugs require a little bit of setup and a little bit of knowledge on how to use them. I prefer plugs because when I shoot long rifle, I don't want to worry about knocking the muff off of my ear. So it's just a little more comfortable for me.
Okay. All right. Let's go in.
So the airlock is always a door that we're going to make sure that only one door opens at a time, which we'll show you in a second. So this door is one of the entry doors to the range. This is the first door to what's called an airlock. The purpose of an airlock is to make sure that air is not shared between the range and our lobby for 2 reasons. First reason being lead contamination. We want to make sure that the room stays negative air pressure and lead stays inside the range. The second reason is going to be sound. If the air is ever shared between the range and the lobby, sound will enter into the lobby and enter into unprotected ears on our staff, which would be negative, and also to our customers in the lobby. So it's really behooving always on the individual using the range to follow all safety procedures. So when we approach the door, we're gonna be reminded that we should have our eye and ear protection on. The next thing we're gonna do is use this glass window to actually check through it to make sure nobody else is walking out. A good piece of courteous behavior is to always allow someone who's coming out to come all the way out before you go in. So I like to look in to see if there's anybody in a rush who's not paying attention, and I keep the door closed until they get all the way out. Once they come all the way out, then I might go in. In fact, we might see somebody doing that in the next few seconds as they're exiting the range. How's it going, man? All right. So this is our airlock. We'll make sure that only one door is entered at a time. You'll see in this room there's sound dampening material to make it a little safer to everyone's ears. And then we have the 2 doors that lead to our 2 different range bays. In those 2 different range bays, we have different shooting distances, and I'll show you that in a second. In our room, we also have floor mats that remove lead. So it's always a good idea to walk across these on the ways in and the way out. Almost all ranges will have different material to do that. So we're going to go into this range here, and we can enter in. So one of the first things you might want to do when you come to a range for the first time is get a lay of the land. Figure out which direction the backstop is in, figure out where the firing line is, and also see any signs. If there's a sign in the range, you should definitely read it, and you should ask any questions that you may have about the signs to any of the staff. It's important because these are basic firearm safety rule reminders and also range policies. Range policies are almost always different depending on which range you go to. Here at Shooting Doors, we have multiple different bays located inside of our range. In these bays, we have a red line on the floor. That red line is our shooting position. Only one person may be in the red line at a time, and the firearms must stay inside of that red line area. We never want to handle a firearm in the gray zone because then it's potentially unsafe. Ranges like this have bulletproof material between the lanes. Not all ranges have that, but we do. So God forbid there was any safety issues, these will actually protect the shooter while they're shooting. We have nice benches that are cleaned in between each shooter. And the thing that you can't see, but that's the most important part about any range, is the air system, which is actually filtering all the air and pushing the air from the rear of the room to the front of the room, making sure that you're not contaminated by lead. The #1 way to get lead contamination is through breathing in inhalation, especially on an indoor range. So that's why you want to make sure you use a range such as Shooting Doors, where the air is always filtered, the room is always clean, and safety is a priority.
And Matt, why is lead so poisonous?
So lead is a heavy metal that once it enters the body, it cannot leave. So every bit of lead you consume in your life is usually still in you all the way up until your death. As lead builds in our body, it becomes toxic and starts shutting down organs and organ function. And so we want to make sure that that lead doesn't get to a toxic level. So we want to avoid inhalating it through shooting at an indoor range, and we want to avoid consuming it through touching our mouths. And we never want to bring food or water into a indoor range, because it will be contaminated with lead and you will consume it. Additionally, for individuals under the age of 25, lead exposure could have a negative effect on your brain development. So small children are really affected by this. So we need to make sure that we're always cautious with what we're doing with lead. So when you come to a range, usually a range safety officer will go over a safety brief with you and tell you about all the rules of the range and what's expected. But just so you have some general etiquette and understanding on how to use a range properly, we'll talk about a few things. The first being that all ranges have a carrier system of some sort, all modern ranges. So it has some type of way to control the target. Ours is a little more modern than most, and we actually have a touchscreen system that I could press and then will recall the target carrier. And so you notice that the carrier actually moves automatically to me. That allows me to then hang my target. We want to make sure that we only ever discharge a firearm in the range when we have a target. We don't want to shoot unaimed fire. We'll take the target and hang it. One of the important things is we want to try to make sure that the X of the target is around our shoulder height. If the X is too high or too low, that'll result in us having to shoot down or up, which may cause our bullets to impact the ceiling or the floor, which is a very big no-no. Anytime that you shoot something other than a target in our range, we charge you lots of money. Targets are included in packages, our walls and ceiling are not. This X is even more important when you might have different height people in your group. If you have someone very tall and someone very short, you may have to change it depending on the shooters. This targeting system then allows me to press a button and it moves the target out automatically to the distance. Every range will have different shooting minimums for your different caliber of firearms and for what room you're in. Always see the posted rules in your range to find out what that is. Here at this range, we post all of our rules and reminders of safety also in our lanes. These are some of the things that are included in that safety forms that we told you that you have to watch the video and fill out the forms online, the waiver. These waivers are reminding you of the rules and making you promise that you will follow them at all times. A big thing to understand with firearms in the United States is that it's very much on the consumer to know everything they're supposed to do with the firearm. It is not on the business to make sure they know everything, which can sometimes be confusing. Because many other products in this world, we expect the business to tell us everything we need to know about it.
今ね、実際に今度売ってる側ですね、レンジのダウンレンジっていうところに来てますけども。Alright, Matt, what are we looking at here?
So this is a pile of what's called granulated rubber.
Okay.
So it's a material that is actually, it used to be shredded tire, but now it's actually a product specifically for this purpose.
Okay.
The way that it works is when bullets hit into it, it actually catches it kind of like a catcher's mitt, and the energy is diverted to these particles, which then move out of the way.
Interesting.
This is your actual target when you're shooting. So a lot of people think, oh, if I shoot the center of the target, everything is great. No. When you're shooting a firearm inside of an indoor range, it is on you to make sure that your bullet ends up inside of this rubber. If you're shooting a target at an angle, you're able to still penetrate the center of it and still end up in a wall. So we want to make sure that we're aligned with the target appropriately.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And I see a lot of full metal jacket here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yep. You'll see the jacket split off. You'll also see shotgun wads. You'll also see why training is really important because you'll see a whole bunch of bullet holes and stuff that there's not supposed to be bullet holes in.
Right.
And that just tells you that not all people have the same acronym for firearms handling that others do.
Right. And I noticed that this movement machine, right, motor part, has the AR-500 plate.
Yes, it does.
Right.
You'll also notice it has been struck.
Yeah.
So that just tells you, each time somebody shoots equipment in our building, we charge $250 per bullet for that strike.
Per bullet?
Per bullet, yes. Because you know why? Our most expensive training is only $200. So it's always cheaper to get trained here at Shooting Doors than it is to shoot our equipment.
It makes sense.
Yep, yep.
That's a good lesson right there.
Yep. The backstops at all different range are different. So our backstop is this granulated rubber, which means that we can take very large calibers, like such as 50 BMG.
Really?
Right, yeah. And we can also take things that other ranges might not be able to take, like M855 steel core. Okay. The only thing we cannot handle is incendiary or tracer ammunition, because if this does light on fire, it will burn for eternity, which is not good. But that's something to always ask if you have your own firearm and you're bringing it to a range, is what are the limitations of your backstop and what ammunition can I bring with me? So here at Shooting Doors, with this granulated rubber product, what this allows us to do is it actually allows us to recycle the lead cores from the bullets. So as you discharge your rounds into this bullet, the jacket is split off and the lead core is deposited inside of the pile. That lead core is then mined out. And when I say mine, it's literally the similar equipment to when you actually mine in the ground. And they put this material in a hopper, and it segregates out the different materials. And that allows us to send the lead product to be resmelted and used in different industrial products.
Do you do that here, or do you send it off to somewhere else?
No, we use a different company to do that. They come in and actually will do the mining for us and then take care of that process. It's really important that we do that because in the range world, there isn't a lot of different profit in there, and recycling is an important part of that.
はい、では今からね、実際に銃を撃っていきたいと思いますけども。Alright, Matt, we are actually going to shoot.
Yeah.
Right now, I have unloaded gun
Sure.
in this lovely Sailor Moon bag.
It's very tactical, yes. I
Yes,
like it a
very
lot.
tactical.
Yep,
Nobody knows that I have a gun here. That
correct.
makes it tactical.
Yeah, that's
All
exactly
right.
right. Yeah.
Alright, so tell me what to do.
All right, so the first thing we're going to do when we come to the range is we're going to take whatever package our firearm is in, and we're going to place it on top of the table.
Alrighty.
Once it's on top of the table, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open the zipper, but we're not going to remove any firearm. Okay? We're then going to utilize our eyes to look inside of the package to see which way the barrel is facing. Can you see which way your barrel is facing?
Yes, sir. The barrel is pointing downrange right now.
Perfect. If it wasn't pointed downrange, you would actually pick up the whole package and rotate it. So we want to always have the firearm pointed downrange even when it's being removed from the package.
Okay.
So since it's already being pointed downrange, you're going to go ahead and lift it out of the package.
Yep.
And then we're going to set it down on the table just like that for now. And then we can take our package and place our package down on that second shelf. We want to avoid putting soft packages on the floor because that'll increase lead contamination. Would you like to show your rifle? Bring your rifle into?
Yeah, let's bring the
All
rifle.
right. So if you're bringing other firearms, the packaging procedure is going to be very similar. I understand that this bag is a little less tactical than the other bag, but is what he has his rifle in. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll look inside of it to see which way it's pointing just the same way. So we're always going to put it on top of the table. It's counterintuitive. A lot of folks would like to put the bag on the floor, but that's a big no-no because we never want to point the gun at anything we wouldn't want to shoot.
So this one right here, one
Yeah.
is pointed that way, one is pointed this
Perfect.
way. What do I do?
So the first thing we're going to do is we'll look at and see the one that has the barrel pointed in the safe direction. We're going to go ahead and remove that first. So in this range, we actually have hooks. So we'll remove that and place it on the hooks. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to close the package. We don't have to zip it back up. And we're going to rotate the entire thing. And it's all rotated. Then we're going to look back inside of it, and we're going to see which way the barrel is pointed. Now that we see, again, the barrel is pointed in a safe direction, we may now remove that rifle as well from the package and place it on the table. Next, we'll go over how to keep your firearms safe when they're on the table. So here at Shooting Doors, we follow basic NRA firearm safety rules. That requires that when a firearm is on the table, we want to have the action open, and we want the ejection port face up. So we have two different firearms here and two different contingencies. So let's show how we would fix that.
Yep, let's do it.
All right. So now that we've deboxed our firearms, we're going to talk about putting them into a safe status. This current status is not safe. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll take this rifle. So I'm rotating it so that I can see the ejection port. I'm going to place the firearm on safe, since the firearm is currently not. I'm going to look at the ejection port. I can't see it now because the dust cover is on and the action is closed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the action of the firearm and lock the action open. So now I can tell that there is in fact no bullet inside of the firearm. That brings us to another very important firearm word, which is called clear. Clear means not only is the firearm unloaded, but that there is no possibility that the firearm might be loaded. And so the action must be open in order for a firearm to be considered clear. We now know this firearm is clear, and now I'm going to place it on the table with the barrel pointed downrange and the injection port open and face up. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with this handgun. Since the handgun's inside of a holster, I'm going to grip the firearm, I'm going to grip the holster. You'll notice that I'm gripping the holster in such a way as to not allow my hand to pass in front of the muzzle. I'll then remove the holster from the firearm. I'm going to then remove the source of ammunition, which in this case is in fact unloaded. The next thing I'm going to do is open the action and lock it to the rear. We can actually tell now that there is no bullets inside the firearm. I'm also placing the safety on since there is an external safety on this firearm. Now that we've opened the action and confirmed that there is no bullets inside of it, this firearm is now considered to be clear. All firearms must be clear in order to be on the table, so now we're going to place it down on the table with the ejection port face up. It is very important that every shooter places their firearms down like this before a next shooter takes over that firearm. The reason is from a distance we can tell, hey, is this gun loaded or is this gun unloaded? Because sometimes communication breaks down and you may think that the gun is unloaded, and if we switch, the gun might actually be loaded, and that may result in a problem. So we always make sure the firearms actions are open. And in case of emergency in the room, we know that if the RSO has to call a ceasefire, they can walk up to the station and very quickly confirm these firearms are indeed clear.
で今からね、撃っていきますけども、まずここにあるターゲットを、10ヤードに向かって今送りました。はい、今からね、これ実はですね、まだサイトインできてないんですけども、新しいサイトなんでね、こちらにマガジンにまず弾を入れていきます。最初にね、まず5発入れていきます。で初めて撃つ人はね、おそらくね、おそらくというか自分のリコメンデーションなんですけども、まず一発だけ入れて、今これ落としましたが後で取ります。一発入れて、その銃のね、反応っていうのをね、見ていったらいいと思いますけども。Alright, Matt, I'm going hot.
Okay, sounds good.
で今、このね銃、今、ダウンレンジにポイントしますけども、先ほど言ってたようにね、この上に向けたり、下に向けたり、横に向けたり、これはね、気をつけてください。絶対、このダウンレンジに向けて撃っていってくださいね。では、いきます。あ、セーフティーつけてるの忘れました。いきます。はい、今これ撃ち終わりました。スライドがね、後ろにこう下がってここで止まっています。スライドストップで止まっています。で、今からこちらをですね、このマガジンを取って、これはね、安全な方向、このイジェクションポートを上に向けてテーブルの上に置きます。で、今度はね、10発今度このマガジンに入れていきたいと思います。では今から10発、同じように、今ね、こういうふうにピックアップしましたけども、この時にトリガーフィンガーね、これしっかり前に向けています。で、このターゲットを撃つ準備ができるまでは絶対このトリガーガードの中にこのトリガーフィンガーを入れないこと、これをね徹底してください。では、こちらに入れていきます。マガジンを入れる際にこの銃口のねこの方向っていうのをねしっかり意識してやっていきましょう。いきます。
Ceasefire, 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 ceasefire on the line.
今、シーズファイヤーのコメントが出ました。で、今このトリガーフィンガーを外しました。そしてこちらに戻していきます。
Shooters, remove your source of ammunition. Shooters, remove your source of ammunition.
そして今、この銃からこの弾を取れというコマンドが出ましたんで、まずマガジンを取ります。そしてチェンバーの中に弾が入ってるんで、これを除去します。
Open your action, render your firearms clear. Open your action, render your firearms clear.
そして今このアクションを今度スライドを上げて、このイジェクションポートがね、このエクスポーズされた見えてる状態にしろというコマンドが出ましたんで、こちらを下げて、このスライドストップを上げて、そしてこのテーブルをこの銃口を向こうに向けたままこういう風に置きます。
Step back from the line without the firearm in your hand. Step back from the line without the firearm in your hand.
はい、今ね、こちらにマットさんが来てますけども、この RSO、レンジセーフティーオフィサーですね、これがみんな売ってる最中もいろんなブースをねこういう風にチェックして見ています。これはね特別にあなたが何か間違ってることをやってるというわけではなくてですね、あくまでもセーフティー安全面を確認してきてるだけなんで、別に気にせずに OK です。はい、ただ自分がやってる時にはしっかりねこういう風なレンジのこのルール、例えばねイジェクションポートをね上にして置いてるとかね、そういう風ないろいろ細かいルールもありますんで、そこら辺をねしっかり理解した上でやっているさえすれば、こういう風なね RSO が歩いてきても心配することは全くありません。では、今こちら AR15 の方ね、はい、こちらフラグが入ってますけども、このフラグを取ってですね、そしてこちらローディッドマガジンのねこれに入れて撃っていきます。今安全装置がかかってますんで、これをファイヤーにして撃っていきます。
How many rounds you got left? A couple?
I got like 10 rounds left.
All right, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna mag dump it, and then I'm gonna scold you for rapid fire. Okay?
All right.
Excuse me. Slow it down. Slow it down. No rapid fire allowed. No rapid. Slow it down.
はい、今自分が何をやったかというとですね、マグダンプをしようとしてパンパンパンパンパンとね、早く撃ちました。これはね、通常こういう風なインドアレンジではやってはいけないことなんで、今 RSO が来てですね、それはやってはいけないというコメントを、言ってくれました。では、最後残りねゆっくり終わらせていきたいと思います。 はい、終わりました。そして今このイジェクションポートね、オープンですけども、このマガジンを外してですね、そしてこのイジェクションポートを上にして、この、ファイアームをケーブルに置いて終わりです。Alright, so I'm gonna check it physically. Clear, clear, and clear. Okay, Matt, so what do we have here?
So these are our rental long guns. So it's just a smattering of the firearms that we have available right now. We change them every couple of months, but it allows the opportunities that every time you come here, there's probably something a little bit different. We have a whole bunch of different firearms. We have AK-47s, we have M14s, we have 12-gauge pump action shotguns, 12-gauge semi-automatic, the notorious Chris Vectors. We have SBRs, short barrel rifles. We have manual defenses. We have suppressors. For some of us who like video games, we have the MP5. We also have the Tavor X95 as well. So there's many different options for many different firearms to try, whether you're just trying to have fun or whether you, are trying to experience something new. And then we even have 22 calibers. If you just want to sit there and plink the whole time, we have those as well. And then here on the floor, we have our 50 BMG, which is our largest rifle that we have available for rent.
All right, Matt, so we just finished shooting. So now what? What do we have to do?
Well, then after you're done with the shooting process, you want to come out of the range. You want to give back any safety material that was loaned to you. Some of the stuff you'd buy and keep, you take that home with you. You want to make sure you decontaminate yourself from lead. Usually there's a sink that you use cold water and a special type of soap at to get all that lead off of you.
Right.
You also want to check out, pay your bill. Most places run on a bar tab, so you don't pay for anything until the end. And then you want to make sure you get your IDs back. If you don't have your passport, it's going to be really difficult to get home.
You can't get home.
No, so you want to make sure you have that. So that's the basic checkout process. And remember, it's really important to understand that in most ranges in America, ammo is not included with any of the packages. So that means the more you shoot on the range, the more you will pay at the end. So you want to make sure that you stay inside of budget.
Right, 100%. Yep.
So anytime that you're planning on going to a range, one of the main things you want to do is see what packages they have available to you. Our range, if you go to shootinddoorsphilly.com, you can see that we have our Royal package. It's specifically designed for people visiting the United States. This package includes no real firearms training, so it doesn't violate any laws. It's just guiding you through the process and having a great, wonderful experience. And it includes everything you might need: targets, the instructor, your range time. The only thing it doesn't include is ammunition, because no packages include that. But you always want to visit those websites, find them. Like with us, you can actually book that Royal package ahead of time.
Okay.
So then you can have a specific time. It allows you to plan your vacation out, and you have your specific time available to you. And then you're able to come right into the door, and you'll have an instructor waiting for you. He'll take you out to the range and make sure you have a great time. Any range in America, you want to check on their websites first. If you have questions, call them, but the website is always your best resource to go to first.
Sounds good. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
今からね、これで今シューティング終わりまして、で、ID をね、持ってらっしゃったらその ID をしっかり、戻してもらって、これで一応のね、動作終わりになります。ということで、Matt, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Alrighty.
ということで、皆さんね、もしこの辺りに来られるんやったら、このシューティングドア、ものすごくおすすめなんで、ぜひウェブサイトにね、行っていただいてチェックしてください。ありがとうございました。